So I have organized this presentation around basically four main points. The first one is to give you a sense of how the pandemic crisis due to COVID-19 happened in Italy, and what was the impact on higher education. I will propose a framework for interpreting the main disruptions related with what happened, and then I will tell you the story about how Politecnico di Milano, my institution, reacted to the situation, as I use it as an example that can be representative of a potential way of trying to deal with all the problems and issues related with the COVID-19. And especially I will try to get a sense of how our institution reacted in three main different steps. And then I will try to draw some lessons from the experience we have lived. As a disclaimer, my presentation today is based on a paper that I wrote for a special issue of the academic journal Studies in Higher Education, and the article will appear early 2021. So for all the details that I will not able to provide due to time constraint today, you can find some more details in the paper then. So this is just to give you a brief overview of the impact of the COVID-19 in the whole country in 2020, early 2020. In Italy, the first case that was recorded was on February 21st, and it was in Lombardy region. Lombardy region is one of the, it is the richest region we have in our country. It is where Milan is located and my university is operating as well. So given that the case was discovered there in almost quite soon, I would say, the responsible from both medical sides and political side decided to close all the economic activities and social activities, including schools and universities, pretty soon. So I would say February 2025. Then there was a great increase of the number of cases and unfortunately also number of diseases people. I reported here the line that shows all the cases in Italy. These are the cases in Lombardy region. I wanted to have this graph just to give you a sense of the area that surrounds the university in which we live, how it was affected. And if you look at these bars, which is unfortunately the number of diseased people, you see that out of the almost 40,000 that deceased until September, I would say half of them are in Lombardy region, and there are in whole areas here around us that were severely affected by the hardest part of the pandemic. Now, when we started reflecting about, okay, then what is going to be the impact of this situation in our work, in our higher education sector? So we basically, we tried to model the potential impact by relying upon a model of how universities actually work. And if we want to sketch very, very simply, you know, a potential theoretical framework for describing universities' activity, we can first of all divide them between primary and support activities. So, and including into primary activities, teaching, research, and outreach, or third missions, so they work with the community. And in the support activities, we can list the student support, meaning all the services that are going into the direction of helping the activity and the experience of the students. Staff support, meaning both the administrative support for administrative staff itself and faculty. And lastly, governance, that is the decision-making processes that then include all the decisions that are taken by the university boards, including, you know, everything that has related with communication or I would say outreach of the wider institutional actors interacting with the university. So the crisis related to the coronavirus had an impact on all of these areas and all of these activities. So we found useful to, I would say, as a researcher, I find useful to try to model the activities of the universities this way, because then the research question became, what is the actual impact on each of these activities? How is heterogeneous this impact, and how strong is in the different parts of the university activity? And especially in the initial and hardest part of this crisis, the big change was the movement outside the university campus of all these activities. So the idea that this kind of work, this kind of processes and activities have been traditionally realized by the university on campus, physically, simultaneously. And now the crisis imposes, first of all, to avoid the attendance of campus. So it creates, the distance work on all of these activities. And at the same time, it also sometimes decouple the moment in which the service is produced by the moment in which the service is actually obtained by the customers or actors. So now we wanted to start reflecting on, okay, let's look at the changes that happened because of this situation and try to understand what of these impacts are going to be short run and which instead would be maintained in the long run. So this is what we actually try to do to understand the impact of COVID on higher education in our country. So to try to model such an impact, this presentation tells the story of Politecnico di Milano in Italy. And Politecnico di Milano is a public, pretty big university. It has more than 40,000 students and very international for the Italian standards. So in the Master of Science segment, 1/3 of the students are international. And our activity in terms of research and teaching is focused on 3 major disciplines that are engineering, architecture, and design. And the story about Politecnico is, in my view, particularly interesting, not only because I had the great honor and opportunity to see this very closely, so to be quite close to the decision-making processes, but also because we found quite easy to try modeling the way in which Politecnico di Milano organized its activities during the crisis into 3 main phases that we would suggest as a potential theoretical lenses through which interpreting what is going to, what happened and what is going to continue in the future. So the first phase, I would say, lasted between February and mid-March. So the initial 2 or 3 weeks was the phase that we can call reaction. And this phase is particularly important because it shaped what happened next. And also because, given that, as Isaac said before, we are experiencing today a second wave, we are already preparing for a third. So I think having a phase in which there is a short-term reaction to what is happening in that moment is particularly important. Then there was a phase that they would allocate temporarily between mid-March and June that we would call managing the emergency. So when we try to establish a clearer way of governing the situation, and then the period going from July to September, and still in which we are, I would say, that is the planning the new normal. So actually, to be honest, today we are much more in the managing the emergency phase 2, because we are in the middle of a second wave, still universities closed, a part of the classes for the first year bachelor students, and for me, as you can see. But in any case, we can attend the offices, but we cannot realize the classes at this stage. So let's go step by step in each of these 3 phases. I will do that very quickly, but just to give a sense of how Politecnico tried to react to this situation. So first is the reaction phase. In the reaction phase, I would say we found, first of all, a strong role of the top management team. So the rector established immediately a permanent monitoring unit. Such an organizational unit with key administrative people, director, deputy directors, some representative of the students. This permanent monitoring unit then realized regular meeting, I would say 2-3 times a week for all the crisis period. And even today, they are meeting on a regular basis weekly. And this is very important because this is the unit in which all the questions, issues, decisions are concentrated. And this was a great move to try to give clear directions to the university. And this was accompanied by a daily message of the rector to all Politecnico community. So at a certain time every day, all the students and faculty received an email message from the rector in which he reported what has been decided within the permanent monitoring unit and the steps for the days forward. Then we, of course, moved all the teaching online. As you recall, we stopped the university on 25th of February. Then we started again the classes online almost immediately. We had some experience with online learning before, so we moved relatively quickly, everything online. The first wave of students started on March 2nd. The second and final wave of students started on March 9th. So and actually the semester was starting on on February the end. So we basically lost a couple of weeks of classes that then were recovered during the period in which the activity has been held online. And the idea of moving into different waves was conceived for experimenting, testing, and extending the previous experiences, the immediate experiences for the professors who came later on. We decided for a synchronous mode. So we even if there is some asynchronous material available, we strongly encourage all the professors to have synchronous live sessions with the idea of, first of all, guaranteeing the same calendar and quality of the activity we had planned until that moment, and also to favor the interaction with the students. And so we tried to keep the students in front of the screen, interacting with the professor for all the period in which the pandemic, while the closure lasted, that is until the end of the academic year. We have a very strong digital learning office, this is definitely something that should be kept as a suggestion for the future, meaning you should have an institutional layer that helps the professors and the staff and the students to understand how to work better with the online learning, how to design courses, how to attend them, how to make the most with the opportunity offered by technologies. And so this office provided an extensive training to professors and instructors and technical support to teachers and students along all days, all week during the whole period of closure. So this is definitely something that we should consider as a permanent feature of what is going on into new universities in the new normal. Then we, of course, from March 10th, after a certain experiment with rotations of personnel, we suggested all the personnel to have smart working. So except for fundamental functions, like, for example, the technological ones that had been conducted in presence, all the other administrative staff have, and academic staff as well, has been suggested to work from home. And we kept open the laboratories for strategic research, especially the research related to COVID. Politecnico di Milano, as we will see later, provided some research on issues related to facing the emergency from a research side. And we immediately started an initiative for assisting students, that is students, the Italian Polimi students who were abroad at that moment and who wanted to go back to Italy, as well as international students at Polimi who also wanted to go back to their houses. So we had a special focus on these students, and we tried to give a sense of, okay, we can keep the activities working, we can stay safe, but at the same time, given the capabilities we have in digital technologies, we can definitely try to move most of our activities online. And this is the other, influence for the long run, which is the, I would say, mindset of considering technology at the service of developing the activity of the universities, and to keep this in the long run. Then in the emergency, this is a snapshot of the various activities we conducted during, I would say, between mid-March and end of June. So we we tried to classify the various activities that has been realized for managing the situation of emergency during the university closure and the key stakeholders and actors that have been involved in these activities. So to give you an example, we had a training to use the web conferencing platform for all the purposes, meaning for all the meetings or online learning or work with students, work with faculty, work with colleagues, everything has been moved into web conferencing platform, and we had training for that. We had all the bachelor and master courses delivered online. We experimented with the new way of realizing online exams. So we bought some new brand software and we use it for the 3 entire sessions of exams that we had between, say, April, June, September. Then we worked on making the regulation of administrative deadlines a little bit more flexible. We started to experiment with online career days. This is another thing that is going to stay in the future, that is to have opportunities for matching students and companies in virtual spaces and to make this more frequent and more stable and more open internationally. We completely redesigned the student support services. So with the idea of having a technological interface between the students and the administrative offices. And this is also something that is going to stay. So reshaping completely the way in which the students can have access to the services, the hours, and so on. We realized some activities of research in testing and production of sanitizing liquid and other sanitary equipment. And this is something through which we reached an impact on the community. And the sense of the university, the service of the community is something also which is going to stay in the long run. That is, people started to see the university as a good partner for trying to develop new strategies and ideas for facing the situation we have in front of us. And we started a plan of webinars held by faculty and other stakeholders for our community. So for our students, for our alumni, for our faculty and staff as well. So where the idea is we keep going on providing some knowledge transfer, because this is our mission and we can do that online and we can do that for a wider group of people than before actually. And of course we had some psychological support. Also with some desk services. We had some workout sessions on social media by Polemi Sport. So our idea is we can also assist you, we can continue to service our community also with the sport activities and our community in that. We had some online peer support across students. We created this program called eBuddy, where the students can help other students by interacting with them online. And we developed some new research projects on COVID-19. The new normal we are trying to plan and we are trying to live actually, because we are already there, is first of all, we are reasoning on keeping the blended learning in the future. Blended learning means we have restructured all our classrooms to have the possibility to hold classes both physically and online. This is a great investment in terms of software and hardware, but at the same time, we think it is high quality hybrid learning is going to stay at least in the medium run. So it is something on which investing resources is worth it. And also it is worth it to continue to train our faculty to adapt to the new way of learning. The teachers we have are great in digital learning, but we think that we can refine and improve every time the quality and ability of our teachers in this new world, also by sharing best practices and professional community. The message that the Politecnico is trying to push anyway is that the campus is open with the new normal thing. So safety rules, priority for first year students, but the common spaces are open. And to the extent to which the regulations will allow us to do that, the idea is, well, the community, the campus life will still be part of the essential life of university students and staff. So we can combine technology and on-campus experience to have the best from both. Finally, this is what we learned, my last slide. I think the indications that we can bring over from this experience as crucial for the next future is, first of all, clear governance is a crucial factor. So we had, and we currently have, a situation in which straightforward and transparent decisions is a priority. It is involving the main constituencies. The idea is that everyone who has a voice in Politecnico can provide their viewpoint, but then at the end there are some decisions which are going in some direction, and this helps everyone to stay on track with their own activities. We started to make use of a large broader set of tools, especially in communication. So social media, the website, and so on. And finally, we had support as a key dimension for our activities. So the message was to faculty and students, to community and society, we are here, we can continue, we keep going. And the technology can help us to provide continuously activity. And this is something that will last in the next future. So on campus life, we're still there, but it will be assisted by high quality technological experiences. I hope that this experience can help in raising some reflection among all of us. And I was very honored to have the opportunity to share this experience with all of you. Thank you very much for your attention.